Last year was rich for high-tech breakthroughs and triumphs, but also for epic facepalms. We've put together a list of top 10 failures, which includes Elon Musk, OpenAI, and more people and companies who would like to forget 2023 ever happened. Let's kick it. The first one on our list has to be the saddest one, since people actually died. It's probably the most instructive one as well, as it clearly showed that the race for innovative solutions and the glory of the innovator does not always justify the risks. We're talking about Stockton Rush, former aerospace engineer who decided that the future is not in space but at the bottom of the ocean. Once Rush founded OceanGate, it was time to get to the nitty-gritty of building an innovative submarine, which turned out to be a minivan-sized tube of carbon fiber controlled with a joystick and, after some name changes, called Titan. OceanGate's trademark was considered to be the boat's integrated real-time health monitoring system. The patented system used acoustic sensors and strain gauges to analyze the effects of hull compression as the vehicle dives deep into the ocean in real time. This feature was expected to provide early warnings of problems and bring Titan back to the surface. From what we know now, Rush had received a number of words of caution about the submersible's design safety. OceanGate's founder always responded that people underestimate the innovativeness of his approach. Moreover, in interviews, he has stated, quote, "At some point, safety just becomes a waste of time. If you want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in the car, don't do anything," end quote. Eventually, the engineer climbed into the Titan himself, took a specialist and 3 tourists with him on board, and set out to examine the remains of the Titanic at a depth of 2.5 miles or a bit under 4 kilometers. The sub exploded and all of its passengers died instantly. Following the news, OceanGate has suspended all exploration and commercial operations. Autonomous driving is the next piece of tech that blotted its copybook. Remember how summer last year, Cruise and Waymo finally received permission from San Francisco officials to charge money for unmanned rides around the city? Well, almost immediately afterwards, a largely autonomous subsidiary of General Motors, i.e. Cruise, saw things going downhill as if Waymo jinxed them. At the Outside Lands music festival, robot cars caused a huge traffic jam. The media immediately claimed the car had a connectivity problem, but it later turned out that wasn't the case. The receiver of the first robocar in the convoy was deliberately damaged by a passerby, which gives you a clue at how friendly San Fran festivals are, and the car simply waited for the remote operator to connect to figure out what to do next. And the other cars, well, they were waiting for the first one to move. Big deal? So what? This is new tech. Don't be criticizing, try to build your own. Just wait, it gets worse. Soon after, a Cruise taxi collided with a fire truck, which prompted the company to cut its fleet in the city by half. But the turning point was an incident when a Cruise robotaxi dragged a woman 20 feet or 6 meters down the road, hit by another car with a real human driver behind the wheel. We don't know what fate has befallen him or her, but whether Cruise will recover remains unclear. The company completely halted autonomous car operations, laid off 25% of its employees, and scrambled for a full audit of all technology, safety protocols, and anything else that could be tested to report back and try to rebuild its reputation. Don't need no booze, just get a Cruise. The next failure has to do with innovative nutritional technologies. We were predicted to derive protein from insects. We were predicted to switch to algae, but the greatest hope was for lab-grown meat. In short, the original idea was as follows. Raising livestock pollutes the environment. You've heard about cows farting too much, right? Well, because of it, we are all heading for a global climate catastrophe. Disregard Earth's cycles and don't listen to Randall Carlson, because soon there won't be enough real meat for everyone. The idea is there, the only thing left is to find investment and invent the tech. That's what Upside Foods, a startup from California, did. And really, if you want the real rundown of what's going on in California, do check out Bill Hicks and his take on the state. So the company raises more than $500 million, and instead of trying to solve the logistics of world hunger, since food is actually abundant these days, Upside Foods decided to go for literally meat production. They showed investors and the press large steel bioreactors and everybody was really happy. However, we later find out that scaling Upside Foods technology was a big challenge, and for now, chicken skin cells are grown in small test tubes, harvested by hand and pressed into tiny pieces. So growing a small amount of meat requires significant resources involving labor, plastic, and energy, and the cost of such a product is about 10 times more than the real deal. But that's not all. Scientists from the University of, you guessed it, California, say that the quote, carbon footprint in the production of artificial meat is 4 to 25 times larger than from conventional beef. They also concluded that if the methane emitted from animals dissolves in the atmosphere for about 12 years, the carbon dioxide from the production of artificial meat remains in it forever, only accumulating from year to year. Obviously, proponents of artificial meat are not giving up just yet, hoping to improve and scale the technology, and maybe one day, just like with everything else, they're hoping to get married to it. A number of tech startups are now preoccupied with being the first to create an artificial intelligence gadget to replace smartphones. The idea that these ubiquitous screens, which bring harm and decadence through TikToks and the like, should be replaced soon has been in the air for a long time, but realizing it is not as easy as it seems. Recently, it seemed that it was about to happen. Last fall, Humane, a startup founded by two Apple natives, unveiled a quote-unquote smartphone killer, a plastic AI pin badge with a camera, chips, and sensors. The device is the result of 5 years of research, 25 patents, $240 million in funding, and collaborations with companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, and Salesforce. The gadget can be controlled by voice, touching the touchpad, or by projecting a laser display into the palm of your hand. The device's virtual assistant can instantly send a text message, play a song, take a picture, make a call, or translate a real-time conversation into another language. The system relies on artificial intelligence to help answer questions and can follow a conversation from one question to the next without needing explicit content. It's also able to edit a single word in a dictated message rather than requiring the user to correct a mistake by repeating the text from beginning to end, as other similar systems currently do. It seems to be doing great. What's the catch? Well, there's a few. First, a device weighing as much as a tennis ball will have to be permanently attached to your clothes, and it won't always be convenient. Second, interaction by voice, especially in the store, on a bus, or at work where you have to dictate personal messages, would seem to attract an attention hoarder. Third, imagine riding the subway for 40 minutes every day. Which one would you prefer? To look at the passengers across the street, or play a game, browse your feed, and read the news without catching the laser projection with your hand all the time? Makes sense? Despite all of Sam Altman's hopes and personal investments, we predict that AI Pin will most likely join the long list of devices that will soon be on sale. If you got one of those and you want to share as to how useful it is and how you dealt with the privacy issues we talked about, please let us know in the comments below. The next candidate on the list comes to us from the field of physics. Last July, two preprints from Korean scientists appeared on the arXiv website, one of which had the modest title, quote, First Ambient Temperature and Pressure Superconductor. Here, it's necessary to clarify. A superconductor at room temperature is a material that has no electrical resistance. If it existed, it would make possible new types of batteries and powerful quantum computers and would bring nuclear fusion closer to reality. This is the real holy grail in physics. The news, along with a video proving the properties of the material named LK99 through levitation, one of the properties of superconductors, instantly went viral. On X alone, Elon Musk's social network, a post about it instantly garnered 30 million views. What's more, Korean scientists shared the formula for the magic substance, and dozens, if not hundreds, of tech startups around the world threw their development efforts into trying to recreate the miracle. But there are no miracles in real life, so it didn't work out for anyone. No, of course it's possible to create a material that levitates in a magnetic field, except it's not a superconductor. On the contrary, the exact repetition of the described LK99 proved that it's an excellent insulator, that is, a substance that does not conduct electricity at all. Why did it fly? Because of copper sulfide impurities, which got into the substance during synthesis almost by accident. Talk about mixing well. In our video about end-of-the-world scenarios, we talked about how one of the options is the unpredictable consequences of human experimentation with climate, particularly geoengineering. Solar geoengineering is the idea of cooling the planet by releasing reflective materials into the atmosphere. It has its proponents. For example, the startup Make Sunsets decided it could make a nice profit on it. To create the infomercial, its co-founder Luke Eisman took a few grams of sulfur, set it on fire, and pumped the resulting gas into a helium balloon he bought on Amazon and launched it into the atmosphere from Mexico. His hope was that the balloon would burst in the upper atmosphere and release sulfur dioxide particles that reflected the sun's rays and microscopically cooled the Earth. Mexico, by the way, has since banned geoengineering tests on its territory, but the startup sells cooling balloons, quote-unquote, on its website for $10 a piece. Not everyone, though, thinks that blocking the sun is a good plan and that we can actually calculate everything so that the consequences are only positive. Many scientists think it won't solve the greenhouse effect problem at all, but will only mask it. And then, we'll consider that a planet-wide failure. Next oy vey happened to someone somewhat unexpected. Mark Zuckerberg is traditionally considered a visionary in the technosphere, but by renaming Facebook to Meta, he has earned nothing but ridicule. Although the renaming itself happened over a year ago, it was 2023 that showed that the metaverse is just a blip, not at all the future of online interaction. No matter how hard the company tried to find its audience, the neutral, sterile Horizon worlds never really gained traction with anyone. Even employees don't want to spend a lot of time there. In the end, Zuckerberg spent about $40 billion on the dream over 2 years, but the metaverse concept died without ever actually taking place. Yes, it's still relevant, but only if chat roulette is down. But really, the bigger disappointment of last year was the failed MMA fight between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. And many users were hoping to see it, but it didn't spill outside of the interwebs. Were you hoping to see this match? Musk did karate as a kid, and Zuck is a jiu-jitsu blue belt. Who would you bet on? Leave your comments below. And here we smoothly progress to the main oopsie of the year. Suddenly, Elon Musk. First, Twitter. From Musk's list of decisions, some of which were later reversed, has thrown the social network into a state of chaos. Many believe that X still hasn't hit rock bottom. Okay, this one is more of a joke. X is doing great in terms of organic growth. You should check it out. And Starship didn't make a full-fledged flight. It's standard procedure when such technologies are tested for years. It would have been much worse if Musk had declared that he was confident in his innovation, got on the Starship with his team, and tried to fly to Mars. And then the fact that the long-awaited Tesla Cybertruck has launched, but not for the promised 40K, but for as much as 60K, we consider somewhat to be a failure. And quite an unpleasant surprise for car enthusiasts who were expecting the novelty or even pre-ordered it. The most shocking thing about Apocalypse Car is that it's not an off-road vehicle. For example, during King of the Hammers, this competition in the desert, the pickup's wheel fell off, which slightly upset its owner. In addition, Tesla had problems with the old models. The US National Highway Traffic Safety Administration considered that the control lamps on the instrument cluster of the company's electric cars were the wrong size. The company was obligated to correct the defect by recalling almost all sold cars. To be exact, 2,193,869 cars. Considering that the company has lost its status as the leader of electric car sales in China, we can say that Tesla is gonna have to work to regain customers' trust. And when was the last time you heard about Musk's high-speed tunnel under Las Vegas? Recall that the test portion of the tunnel, which promised high-speed travel under the city, was built in 2018. It was still impossible to drive your own car through it last year, only on a Tesla Model X driven by company personnel and with a speed limit of 40 miles per hour or 65 kilometers per hour. Not very fast, is it? It seems like the project didn't go any further. At least TeslaBot shows a good pace of progress. By the way, we'll tell you more about it in our next video, so be sure to subscribe. Moving on, since 2023 has definitely become the year of generative artificial intelligence, we can't help but mention a couple of fails of this widely publicized technology. Thus believing in the incredible abilities of ChatGPT, lawyers from Levidow, and Oberman turned to the neural network for help in drafting legal documents for a lawsuit. Unfortunately for them and their client, ChatGPT did something it's very good at. It produced an extremely believable document that included a number of factual errors, including references to numerous non-existent court cases. At the trial, the lawyer had to admit to the judge that he used a neural network and that he didn't realize the latter was hallucinating. In his defense, he asked ChatGPT if his quotes were fake, and the chatbot insisted that they, quote, can be found in reputable legal databases such as LexisNexis and Westlaw, end quote, which again turned out to be simply not true. AI failures also hit the tech journalism world. CNET was forced to retract more than 35 articles written using a tool called Responsible AI Machine Partner, or RAMP. The poor quality of the results not only embarrassed the company, but also drew sharp criticism in the tech journalism world. ChatGPT has also compromised itself in storing user data. For example, Samsung programmers were banned from using AI to find bugs in sensitive code after an OpenAI glitch exposed the payment data of about 1.2% of ChatGPT Plus users. Are you one of them? Let us know in the comments. Of course, none of this negates the fact that ChatGPT was a major AI breakthrough in the last few years, but still, it reminds us that we should use it with caution for now. From ChatGPT, let's move on to the company that created it. Specifically, we're talking about the OpenAI leadership and their failed attempt to oust Sam Altman. These are definitely the losers of the year. Without any warning, shocking ChatGPT fans, investors, and Altman's Silicon Valley colleagues alike, the board was able to fire Sam but failed to explain to everyone concerned why and for what. There were vague references to cover-ups and reports of the board's displeasure with Altman's attempts to monetize artificial intelligence technology that may be about to spiral out of control. While causing bewilderment around the world, they failed to get anyone on their side. In the end, over 90% of OpenAI employees said that they would leave after their leader, and Microsoft, to protect billions in investment, volunteered to take them all in. As a result, Sam is still there, but the board of directors has changed its composition. By the way, who is Sam Altman and Ilya Sutskever, who was credited with the attempted coup in the company? We already told you in our video found in the description below. What technologies or techno leaders have disappointed you last year? Write in the comments, join the discussion in our Telegram, and subscribe to the channel for more news from the world of high tech.